Welcome back, everyone, to Ire and Dice. We resume with our party of adventurers running through the streets of the Jade Ward in Valio, the capital city of the Jade Coast, heading to the dawn session of the Jade Tribunal after a quick scrying ritual on Severus, a ally, perhaps?
Hopefully.
Anyway, so the group moves rapidly through the streets. As you continue through, I want everybody to go ahead and give me perception checks.
Uno.
It's a solid nat 1 here, too.
Hey.
18.
Ooh. All right, then. Erdor and Alakir, as you're, running through the streets, the rain has picked up yet again. The sky a deep gray, and only in small pockets can you see glimpses that the light of a new day is coming through the dark overcast. And every now and then, you'll see this shifting in the clouds and see elements of dark blue very high above you. And this perplexes you at first because it almost looks like you would see the blue of a regular sky. It's that vivid color. But something unsettles you, and it doesn't actually appear to be the sky.
I message, as we're running, I message Alakir. Alakir, I have a theory. I think I've figured out what Morgana wants to do. I think Morgana is trying to act as a false savior of the Jade Coast. I think she knows where this jewel is, and she's going to bring it out from somewhere and give it to the people coming from the sea and act as the hero of the Jade Coast, therefore consolidating power. I think this is how Morgana is working.
Well, that would explain Ati's excitement.
Yes. And have you noticed this blue off to the side? Okay. Do you have any idea what that could be? History check, maybe? Anything? Arcana?
I think a nature check.
You want to help me or just...
Individuals.
I just rolled a nat 20, so what can you tell me about... Wait, hold up. I rolled a nat 20.
As you guys kind of round the end of one corner, now about halfway to the Jade Tribunal, and you kind of stop as there is kind of a body of citizens that are moving through and scrambling, and you kind of have a moment to pause. You take a second to glance up and study another kind of pocket of blue as it appears, and you almost see this flow of it behind the clouds. It looks like water, like the shifting of a lot of water. But then in another moment, the clouds cover it yet again.
Eridor, did you see that?
Did I see that with 13?
Nope.
No?
Well,
Okay, well, I guess we're getting there pretty quick. Where do you need me in the tribunal when this happens? Am I in the crowd? Am I off to the side? What's going on?
stay... I'm assuming we'll be either with the Vaklu family or within the general seating. Just stay close to me.
The heavy rain crashes down upon you all.
My message ends. We're done.
Okay. So, the rest of the group proceeds onward. Everyone, I'd like you to list off your passive perception scores for me.
16.
Okay.
11.
Okay.
14.
13. 13.
Okay. So you continue onward, kind of move your way through some of the more populated portions of the city, but you see that there appear to be bodies of citizens, or not like dead bodies, but like groups and gatherings of citizens who are lining up outside this large structure that all of you take to be the Jade Tribunal, as Geneth is leading the way for the group. You see that the building itself it's almost a spherical structure, and then about 80% of the way down to the ground there are these 12 pillars that large. Each of these pillars are probably, I don't know, 40, 50 feet wide, that make up, and you see that each of the pillars kind of comes off in a straight line, and if you could trace it, you'd look back and see the 12 embassies that are arrayed around it. This is the centralized building for the overarching governmental body, politically. This is where the Jade Tribunal meets. But you see people in groups and dozens lining up. Everybody give me a insight check.
Good grief, Bills. You're not rolling well today.
Well, I rolled good a minute ago.
I got a 10.
14.
14.
17.
19.
Okay, those will be above a 14. Wonder, it almost appears, or you get the sense that there might be some kind of magical amplification of the rulings of the tribunal, or whatever goings on within the actual governing room itself, that whatever chambers of law are within, that the people outside might be able to actually hear what is happening. They look like they're gathered around to listen. So that's kind of cool. But you push your way forward and basically hit a line of guardsmen that are kind of keeping some of the citizens at bay. They're not rioting by any means, but just kind of as a perimeter wall. There's probably about 20 or 30 feet in between kind of this gathering of citizens and this kind of perimeter line. And you push your way forward, and Geneth kind of shows his identification, and you hear him speaking with one of the guards who wears a full facial helmet, so you can't make out his face. But Geneth approaches him and says, "Yes, we are here we are members and those in the services of House Vaklu." And he shows his Vaklu insignia and identification, and says, "We have seats within the tribunal itself to witness it. and in fact another of our company. I'm sure you've seen Sir Hestel Marlond has passed through. And the guard kind of shakes his head. I haven't met anyone named Sir Hestel, but come on inside. Kenneth kind of turns and gives you all a slightly perplexed look. But you all are escorted through the line and pass between a doorway that lies in between two of those great pillars and actually make your way inside the structure. And what you see is this sprawling interior, very Jedi temple, very grand. You see all these carvings and mosaics and these great 100-foot high and 40-foot wide, these cloths that are just woven with this deep intricacy that are these beautiful pictures. And you see, even though you can't see directly between because another interior structure springs up from the center, but this is almost this a circular and very wide, almost Parthenon interior. And you see that kind of hanging above another chamber, this kind of square building that sits within this building that everyone is moving towards. It's probably where the tribunal is meeting, this kind of smaller structure of law. But you see hanging above it this massive jade-colored anvil that is almost floating and slightly spinning, rotating on a horizontal axis, and is just engulfed in this perpetual swirling of fire. Everybody give me a history check, except Alec here.
Would I know it since I'm not from around here?
Actually, go ahead and make the check for me, because you have been in dealings with these houses, and especially the research that's been done the last couple of days and everything that you've discovered. Everybody would have a chance to understand who this is.
10.
13.
12.
Okay, everybody but Mordecai. It's a real low DC, guys. The flaming jade anvil is the symbol of House Ithvaru, of the Lawbringers, and the Order of the Jade Flame, and their current leader, who is Vosmir, Alakir's father.
I would like to stealth and go and not be as close to the group.
Go for it. Make a stealth check with disadvantage, because there are a lot of people. We're all kind of floating it. And what outfits did you guys prepare to wear today? You changed into your regular Mordecai, your original.
Whoa. I kept the black bracers, though, because those are sick.
Yeah. Mostly old outfit, little synthesis. Mordecai kept your old, little synthesis of the two.
So my old outfit, like, Audie ripped the most of the bottom dress down because of the swamp. So either if there was a new dress, that, or what they wore last night for the infiltration.
I'll say there were some furnishings and a barrel that was provided. So what does your new dress look like, Ati?
I guess I should have thought about this before. But
And you did.
yes. I guess it's more of like a darker purple dress down to about the ankles,
Very formal for this occasion.
Oh, yes, obviously.
Funny joke.
Yeah, and it's a very straight cut, not a lot of poof on it, and it's more utility than anything. And of course, she has a nice overcoat with it, with a few pockets on the inside to carry different magical bits and bobs for spells.
Something I'm gonna try to do is like, I don't know how D&D mechanics work on this, but like try to stealth my way in the crowd as well, but like stay with them. But
You're going to
like,
try
not
to
Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
walk in the crowd. Yeah.
love it. Did you say advantage or disadvantage?
disadvantage.
Oh. That's a 14.
Did you roll a 2?
Did you, oh, did you hit a pillar on tried to disappear?
I wasn't.
This is such an open space.
Yeah, if it would help, I wasn't so much trying to hide as much as I was trying to make it look like I wasn't with them.
In that case, go ahead and give me a deception check
Okay.
with disadvantage.
Oh,
What am I rolling?
Stealth.
Just normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
How's it looking, Mordecai?
that's a 1.
You got tarred and feathered, and you're just sticking right out there.
Guys, my rolls are gone. We're gonna die.
No, we'll be fine. Oh. I didn't see anything.
Is it a 1?
With mods, it's a 15.
What'd you roll on the die?
A 7.
These rolls, guys. These
I know,
rolls.
we're sucking it
We're
up.
getting all the bad rolls out now, right, guys?
Hopefully.
I got a nat 20.
Oh,
making
yeah.
bread.
It's all coming together. So,
oh,
Eridor, you kind of pull your hood up a little more and kind of change your orientation among the group, and kind of anticipate as other people are all kind of funneling to this central chamber. I mean, it's not like a mass crowd moving in here, because only particular individuals make it into this chamber past that guard line. But you see there are other citizens, there are other armored figures. You see different sigils of different high houses and different things like that. But you do kind of slightly take yourself aside, still being close with the group, but just kind of shoulder shrug your way through other people, just keeping an eye out. But Mordecai, every time that you think you have kind of an opening to take a few steps away and to kind of appear like you're not one of them, your eyes are just kind of flickering around to all the various people with paranoia and hoping and praying that the information that you have is correct and that Yaugrit will not be here. And that paranoia, that fear, keeps you from taking that leap of faith to spread just to or a little farther outside of the group. And you all continue onward and pass now through these doors into this other kind of wide chamber. When you get inside this one, you see that yet again, this chamber itself is probably about maybe about 100 by 200 feet in a rectangle. And you see that leading up from 3 of these sides rises up on some kind of staircase and then proceeds upward and passes down into a tunnel. Everybody begins to...
So, like when we get in here, Adi's first thing that I'm gonna do is try to find Severus.
Okay.
Just making sure it's declared.
Yeah. Good. I know. But thank you for voicing that.
So as soon as Sigil and Orla walk in, Sigil.
Orla is not with you.
Orla's not with us.
Orla's not with you.
Okay. Is she still back at the embassy? Okay. Well, in that case, that makes my job a whole lot easier. I take my cowl thing that is woven or whatever, and I pull it over my head to where nobody can see my face.
Wait. Let me see your face. You are the one from my dreams.
Oh.
Oblivion.
Ba-da-da.
Patrick Stewart. Jean-Luc. All right.
All of a sudden, Sigil just yells out,
Fusrada.
We're cutting that out in post now. So you all kind of rise up. I want everybody to give me a perception check really quickly right before we get into the actual chamber itself.
Let's try this different die.
No, nobody's helping anybody. A 1?
A 1.
That's 2 1s in a row.
Yeah.
30-20.
Got a 15.
All right, good roll. 21.
I got an 8.
An 8.
It's because of that cowl. That's what
Okay,
it
so
is.
3 of you.
Your hood's just too far down. You can't see.
The 3 of you, as you kind of rise up these steps and kind of take one last look over your shoulders, you begin to kind of proceed down into this tunnel that leads further into a chamber. You're getting further and further in, and the sounds of the rain grow farther and farther away. But as the 3 of you turn and take one last kind of cursory glance, you catch just one glimpse of several figures who just kind of stand somewhat in shadow, and you think to yourselves just in a second, like, how do they find shadows in this place that's so open? It seems so bare, but in almost these sliver of shadows, you catch just a glimpse of 2 figures that you don't recognize, and a third. You see just a flash of an eye and a nod as Vire just vanishes into the shadows once more, watching, waiting. The shadows of the faceless will lie in anticipation.
A message. You're like, here, you got that?
Yeah.
It's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You proceed down this tunnel that kind of opens up into this rectangular chamber. And on one side, you see above you what was once this beautiful stained glass piece, detailed. You see elements of it that remain, but you see that the devastation of the storm of the previous night has torn it asunder. And you see in 2 of the corners at its feet, there is kind of this pile of all the destroyed kind of bits of glass, all the ones that were recovered that have kind of been pushed up underneath it. And looking outward, you can see a break in the kind of Parthenon-style circular larger chamber that you came through with the 12 pillars, and there is a cutout from which you can see outward and just catch a glimpse of the sea and of the water beyond. And it would be more beautiful if it were not for the dark skies and heavy rains that now descend upon the city. But arrayed around you in kind of these individual balcony-style platforms on either side, you can see 12 in total, each adorned with jade kind of fabrics that overhang men and women of different appearances. Each bears kind of a different symbol. You infer that these are the representing lords and ladies of the 12 high houses. And you all kind of proceed up along kind of perimeter steps and kind of work your way into more generalized seating underneath the balcony areas. Yes, Sigil?
Okay, before that, I want to take some of the glass that was swept up in the corner and I want to put it in a small canvas bag.
Okay. Well, make a... So here, there's a battle map, so this is what I'm pointing to. So that bit there along that wall is the base of the broken stained glass. It is on the level that's higher than you, which is where you're going to work your way up to. So I'll say save that for a moment. You're going to need to make some checks associated with that. Excuse me. So you proceed out of this tunnel and you see, as the six of you enter and look up and see various people and figures, you see Lords Tobin and Varen within the who are kind of standing at the head of the Vauclu balcony, and you do not see Hestel, who went ahead of you. Audie, give me a perception check.
Do I see Morgana?
Give me a perception check, Eridor.
That's a solid 10.
Do not see Severus in this chamber.
There we go. Good grief. Rolled 19, so it puts me at a 27.
If I don't see Severus in this chamber, I just kind of pull out a little bit of copper wire and do my verbal and somatic things to message to Elkir. I'll be back soon. I just need to find Severus before it's too late. And I try to wiggle my way out to.
Okay. It's about right now. It's about 5 or 6 minutes before the actual proceedings start. So you kind of push your way back out in the tunnel, kind of stand at the top of that platform where there's kind of 3 staircases and that outer chamber.
Well, pause. Before she runs away, do I see Morgana?
No.
I rolled 20. Okay. All right, never mind.
You ascertain that if Morgana was here, you'd probably be able to pick her out, but you don't see Morgana.
Okay. Awesome.
So Audie, you are not here, so I'm going to leave your mini out for just a second. So you all begin to rise up, and you see that there are kind of, other than most of the people that are finding their place of seating, there are kind of 4 figures that kind of stand in attention. At one end of the room kind of lies this almost raised platform with 2 small staircases, and it has kind of a capital T shape right there. You see that there is a jade kind of walled, not necessarily a throne, but kind of the jade rises up to about 6 or 7 feet and is kind of pressed into the stone wall, and in front of it kind of lies kind of this stand, kind of a lectern, and you see a large figure who kind of stands behind it. He is adorned in gold and jade armor. You see that there is a large emblazoned shield that rests against the side of the lectern, and at his side is some kind of broadsword. You see kind of furled and kept behind him these kind of two flickering white and jade angelic wings that are folded beside him, and he kind of stands and has this, his hair is this almost a golden blondish with kind of little bits of brown, but mostly this vividly gold color. It's short. You see, even as you pass, that he has dark circles under his eyes, but his skin and his body kind of gives off this radiance to it. I'd like everybody but Alec here to make a history check.
Do I need to because I'm not in the room, or okay?
All my good rolls are coming out now before combat. History's under intelligence, right? Yeah. That's gonna be a dirty 20.
I got a 10.
8.
Eridor, you, as one who has discovered various readings that have helped to bring light to Alakir's lineage, you recognize this imposing figure as Lord Vosamir Hithvaru, Arbiter and High Sequitur of the Order of the Jade Flame.
I message Alec here,
you know exactly who this is, as you do not make eye contact.
and I say, well, it just got real. This is about to happen.
Let's see if Var was able to get to Ramses.
Just as a note, you guys, in your conversation with Vire, he made it clear that Faceless would not be able to examine papers beforehand. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, just to be clear. Yes, Eridor? Okay. The other two figures that stand on either side of Vosamir, you see these two figures that almost bear this, are almost wearing this kind of larger than life suits of armor. You see kind of the helmets and structures of regular sized humanoids, but they almost kind of bear this either through crafty construction or arcane or divine enchantment, almost these kind of suits of power armor that kind of make them stand larger than life. They each bear these large mauls that are adorned in jade and crimson markings, and they each bear large tower shields big enough for these somewhat mechanized, divinely enchanted suits of armor. And at the other end of the room, kind of lying before that large stained glass, is a third who bears this large two-handed maul of a similar design as their own. And they all kind of stand stoically. One of them does not have a helmet, and you just kind of see this this woman with kind of a top knot undercut, disheveled, dark hair. Yeah. That's all I'll give you. Adi. Yes. What are you doing? You push your way back through, out of the actual tribunal chambers itself, and work your way outside. What are you doing?
I'm just frantically looking through the crowd if I can see Severus or anybody that has like the crest of the Celestial Pack that I can be like, hey, where's Severus?
Okay, go ahead and give me an investigation check.
That's a 6. But a nice 4 on the die.
Get it together, guys. I'm sorry to say that you don't see anybody bearing the symbol of the Celestial Pact, and now most of the people.
I just start yelling his name if it's taking me too long.
So you just start yelling Severus out, and you hear it just, excuse me, his voice just echoing. You saying his voice just echoing out through the chambers. You see that kind of some of these last people that are working their way into the chambers kind of look at you like, who's this crazy girl who's just shouting at dawn before an important legal ceremony, and just kind of work their way inside, and you shout and shout, and you kind of take in a deep breath, and you're the only one standing in the chamber. Until there's this upturn of arcane energy, and you feel yourself kind of pushed several feet by kind of this summoning. And as the kind of bits of spark and smoke and matter rematerializing, and you kind of, put your hand up, and as you kind of pull it down, you see a beautiful face looking down on you, and you hear the graceful and cold tone of Lady Morgana Hontori look down at you and say, "Oh, hello again, Artie. Will you be joining us for this morning's proceedings?"
Yes, I was just looking for my friend Severus. He's with the Celestial Pack.
I know of Severus.
Oh, really? I've been thinking about pushing my studies into the Celestial Pact.
I see. Well,
would you know where I could find him?
I believe he will be joining us for this morning's proceedings, so I'm sure you'll see him shortly. Also, once all of this terrible business is done, I have trained for many years at the Celestial Pact, and I'm sure if I can contact several of my associates within the academy, that using my own help, we could test your own abilities.
That sounds very nice. Thank you.
Come on inside. I don't know if you have a place to sit, but if you would like, you are certainly welcome to sit as a guest in my own box. Making it, and she kind of puts a hand on your shoulder and gives you one of those looks.
I'm just
I want you to make an opposed check. Now, even if I roll higher, don't feel like you have to go along with this. I just want to see. So make an opposed charisma check.
An opposed charisma check? That will be... It's just charisma, it's not persuasion, deception, or...
Nah, just straight charisma check.
That'd be a 19.
Okay, I rolled a 17 on the die naturally, so that is a dirty 20 from me.
Dang it.
But, so pretty neck and neck, though. As she just kind of looks and kind of turns as if to begin walking in.
Just as a single bead of sweat starts to fall down my face, will Severus be joining you in your box?
Yes, he will.
I just smile and say, well, that sounds like a lovely place to sit.
And as the two of you kind of walk down the tunnel and are about halfway there, she kind of stops and turns and says, "Oh, and one quick thing before we go in and begin the proceedings. I just wanted to thank you.
For?
I mean, when we met, you told me of a grand adventure that you had been on with several others, and, well, that knowledge has come to be most rewarding."
I only told Severus about that.
In our pre-session, you said that you were, in the employ of House Vaklu. You said that to Morgana.
Yes, but I didn't tell her about an adventure with them. I just said I worked for them.
I know what I said.
I'm trying not to get screwed over here, Chris. Help me out!
I know, audience.
You mean you're trying not to screw everyone
Audience,
else here?
Party. My dear friends, I remember what you said. Don't worry. I remember what you said. You said a sentence. You did not give any details. You were like, "Oh yeah, I've been doing this. I've been learning all of these new things as I work for House Vaklu." That is what she said. So, but she also holds that hand on your shoulder and just says, "I am sorry about the tone with which I spoke to you last night. The circumstances, as I'm sure you're aware, are very trying."
Yes, with the bubble in the sky and whatnot.
The what?
Nothing. Let's sit down. I'm just gonna start to try to walk forward.
Iron grip on your shoulder. What in the sky?
Rain. Make bubbles and they come down.
Make a deception check.
Oh,
It's a 24!
oh, word.
That will hopefully end us failing everything.
We shall see.
The night is young. And I'm too young. Please let me live.
You're too young?
I'm really happy. I just want everybody to know. I rolled a 19. This is a good time.
Relish.
Okay, she says, as she kind of opens her mouth to say one more thing, you hear kind of this resonating, kind of a gong sound that just kind of emanates through, and she looks and says,
Don't want to be late.
"Yes, we don't." And the two of you kind of proceed inside. The rest of you have found your way up as you guys have walked up. Sigil, go ahead and give me a sleight of hand check.
15 plus, hang on, 17.
Okay, 17 total. I'll say you managed to kind of scoop up some fragments as you all were walking past, and you've placed them in a small canvas bag amongst your gear. So I'll say you have a small pouch of stained glass fragments if you want to add that to your inventory.
He's gonna make a cool mural out of this if we live.
Would I see Auntie over in the wrong box?
It's very subjective if it's wrong.
Oh, it's the wrong one.
I hope you guys like King of the Hill.
So, literally across the tunnel from each other, you see, on other sides of the tunnel, you see, up in the box, you kind of look up as everybody in the room, all eyes are locked on Lady Morgana as she enters and is kind of ushering excuse me, ushering Audie along, and all of you kind of look. What's Audie's face as you see all of your friends kind of look at you with the "What are you doing?" face?
It's if you know the concerned Tom face from the meme, it's literally that, just eyes wide, just.
Oh, by
Can
the
I message
nine
her from here?
hells, I'm gonna. Can I try and stealth to where I'm in a better position to help her if she needs to be like help?
I'll say that you can kind of slip back to underneath. I'll just give it to you. You can go ahead and kind of sneak a little bit under and kind of lean up against the corner. So your back is against the wall. The tunnel is 10 feet wide. And then there's another gap where there are some citizens. And then the raised box that's about 10, 15 up from you all. And Gwyneth is there as well.
Okay. Those are some pretty nice minis, by the way.
Yeah, Chris is an artist, in case anyone had any questions.
By the way, I message Mordecai as he walks away, and say, Mordecai, remember, I can distract them. You come from behind and lay the killing blow. And then, yeah.
That only works if Artie's not in danger.
Message ends. I don't say anything else.
I said, wait, where am I? I'm beside Alec here.
Mm-hmm. You're in between Alec and Eridor.
So I'm not the best person on tactics. However, I'm pretty sure Lady Morgana just took Artie hostage.
And Ati, you kind of are shown a seat that's kind of next to, slightly behind Lady Morgana, and she kind of says, if you need to ask me anything, just don't hesitate.
Anything?
I mean, not when I'm speaking, but about the proceedings of the tribunal, then yes.
Thank
and
you for
you
the
see,
clarification.
kind of as you sit, there is one of the mages that you recognize from the night before is kind of standing there, just kind of nods at you, and you see Morgana.
I give a friendly nod because he was nice to me.
Yeah, and he nods back. But you see as Morgana kind of stands at the front of the balcony and just kind of looks over to the box beside her and just kind of locks eyes with Tobin, and Tobin just kind of gives her a look as standing directly at the front of the balcony, she looks over and just says, "Good morning, Varen." And he says, "Good morning, Lady Hontori." She says, "I'm sure this day will give a great opportunity for our houses to come together and defend the nation that we both love dearly." And he says, "I'm sure everything will be brought into the light, naturally." And as kind of the room continues to swell with this gong sound, in a single moment, unnaturally so, it is cut off. And you hear kind of this booming, echoing voice fill the chamber. "All those in attendance, mark this session, this emergency gathering of the Jade Tribunal is now in session. High Arbiter and Secretary Vosimir Ithvoru presiding." And all eyes kind of look down to see the paladin figure who lies. And you watch as in the center of the room, this kind of spectral jade anvil is kind of engulfed in this jade flame, this flickering image. All those who stand under the flame of the Jade Forge shall speak the truth, lest the discerning fires of Othril pass down upon them. And you watch as kind of this radius of kind of small green flame kind of stretches around the kind of central raised, slightly raised about 5 foot. Kind of you see that 20 by 20 section in the middle that kind of looks like, not necessarily like the witness stand, but kind of a place where one would address the populace. And on the floor of that kind of raised platform is the symbol of the Order of the Jade Flame. And Vosimir says, "You all know the circumstances which have brought us here on this day. Our city, our nation, has been attacked by forces of the elemental plane of water, that which we can ascertain. They have given us now," kind of looks down and looks up, "now in the first of 2 days given to us to find an orb of which they speak, one they believe someone in our company has taken, and return it to them. If we do not, they will attack, and their judgment shall fall upon us. I believe," and he kind of looks at a parchment that's on his lectern. "I believe that Lord Varen Vaklu will begin our proceedings with the first statement." And Varen just kind of nods at Vosimir and turns and kind of proceeds back out of the small. Each of the 12 balconies have kind of small chambers that kind of bring them back down to a set of stairs where they can walk down amongst, and you see that as he kind of emerges from the smaller balcony area and comes out of that small tunnel and comes back into the light, there's a figure walking beside him. As you see, hidden from sight before, just in case, you see Sir Hestel walking at his side, with the tome and what appears to be a small package of papers with him. And the two of them walk to the center chamber, and the two of them stand in that circle of flame. I mean, low-level flame, I mean, like several centimeters, but it's a zone of truth.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Oh no.
And the Hestel kind of opens up the tome, and several key papers that are kind of already placed to be examined. Varen steps forward. Vosimir looks down and says, "Lord Vaklu, will your words bring truth and bear in the light of Othril's gaze this day?" Varen says, "I do, and they will." Vosimir nods. "You may proceed." Varen kind of nods to Hestel and kind of looks around the room. His eyes kind of briefly pass over yours, and you all watch as they kind of find Morgana's for a moment. He says, "My countrymen, We have gathered here because our nation is in great peril. From outside, and from those who seek to bring destruction upon us. This day we have a chance to come together, not as separate houses, each seeking their own survival, but as those gathered together for the survival and continuation of a single goal, the coalition, for a new day in the Jade Coast. Now, I think it's all very clear that these creatures, these attackers, and they themselves say as such, that they are here for a purpose. Although their methods may be barbaric, these creatures are not savages. For even as their word, they have retreated from our lands, and they await. They have given us time to talk and think and act as we do now. And it is with that in mind that I conjecture this, that these creatures are not monsters, but they are in great need. Through research of my own, and with the aid of several of those in House Vaklu, we have done everything in our power to learn about this orb. And he begins to pour into some of the research that you have presented about the faculties. For brevity, I'm not going to re-say it all again, but speaks on the essence of the Jewel of the Depths. With that in mind, it is clear that if what we believe to be true, then these creatures, these Sahuagin and others, are from the elemental plane of water, then the returning of this orb to their realm is very important. It is the lifeline that holds their reality together. Of course, they would do everything in their power to retrieve it. Now on to the second matter of business, and you see others kind of nodding in agreement. And I'm going to go ahead and make a persuasion check for him. But because you guys did a good job of finding the right research and other things, he gets advantage.
Wow.
He rolled nat 1 twice.
I mean,
Oh.
no, I didn't. Good to know. And everyone, a good amount of people are kind of nodding, and even Morgana's like, yeah, that's true. That's right. And you kind of see Adi, two kind of figures join you from the back of the balcony and kind of lean up against the sides. You see Severus and Paramus. And Severus kind of looks at you, and
I make eye contact with him, and making use of my subtle spell, I cast message.
okay.
So, I don't have to do a stealth check, because I know I would fail. I just, hi Severus. How are you doing this fine day? I was looking for you earlier, and I found myself in this predicament. Please say something so I know you can hear me.
In your mind, you hear.
This is all through message.
Yeah. In your mind, you hear a reply as kind of Lord Vaklu's voice kind of fades away, and kind of all the periphery noises kind of are drowned out, and you hear this kind of single resonating voice, that calming voice, that voice that has brought you a glimpse of peace that may come to pass. And you hear him say, yes, I can hear you.
Well, so it seems the lady is harboring a green dragon. I do have one of its scales if you want to scry to make sure what I'm saying is true. Yeah, it's been feeding her knowledge. I believe there's letters that say that the lady and people of her house have been going out to the ocean to find the beauties of the jewels of the ocean, which I'm pretty sure is what's happening right now. And I'm pretty sure she lied to you. Sorry, I scried on you and I spied on you and I saw the conversation she had with you, and I'm pretty sure she's lying.
Make a persuasion check. I love you, Robbie. That's great.
18.
Okay, and you kind of he kind of looks at you and his face doesn't move, but you just kind of see his eyes look at the back of Morgana's head.
Mm-hmm.
And look at yours.
Gesture down to like my sack, and I say I have a scale in here again if you want to scry to make sure so she does have a dragon.
He shakes his head, and you hear in your mind, I already know about Tyrek.
He's a nice dragon, but everybody seems to be mad that she has it.
And he
Wait, how do you know about Tyrek?
I've known about Tyrek for decades. This is in your mind, obviously, but I knew her father. We were friends. Her father, who is now passed as one of the ones who traveled to the Shadowfell with me and aided me in the ritual. We are friends all throughout his life. But I know your fears about Morgana. And he takes one back look at the back of her head, looks down at you and says, we may be friends, but I am not blind. She is up to something.
Yes, she definitely is. I do have one last thing to say before. Yes, thank you. Also, I fear, this room will not be safe. If bad things start happening, please help me make them be peaceful and not violent.
I will do what I can to cause the commotion, or to calm commotion. But I suspect that if things do not go according to plan, that, well, this will not turn out well. But have hope. Hope has brought life to many a situation filled with darkness. And you kind of hear Varen's voice swell up again and say, now, it has come to light that, like I said before, it is clear these creatures are here for a purpose, and this orb is their unifying goal. And it is clear that they have come to this city for a reason. If it were elsewhere throughout the coast, it appears, from what we can ascertain, that they can sense its presence in some respect. What our research has shown into their civilizations and other things, it appears that they have come here for a reason. That the orb, if there truly is such an object, is here, is within these walls, and within this city. We do not know how exactly this pinpointing mechanism of their works, but I ascertain that if such a creature was very close, that they would be able to sense it directly. With this in mind, I have had documents brought before me that, well, and he kind of takes a deep breath. Prove that the actions of one such individual are behind this theft of such orb. And the entire room goes... And he turns and says, "This document before me lies in, well, brings to bear the inquiries of one house, House Hontori," and the entire room, like, erupts in a gasp. And you watch as Tobin, all of you kind of stand there and turn. Tobin kind of looks at Morgana, and she kind of looks back at him and kind of raises an eyebrow and just kind of mouths at him. What? Like, say whatever you want. That's what she mouths at him. Varen continues. It appears, and he kind of reads a portion about seeking for the jewel of the sea and kind of the beauties of the ocean and other things, and he says, "We also have found documents that prove that House Hontori is engaged with many, well, illegal dealings and alliances within many of your houses." And he just, like, takes a deep breath and just starts shooting off names like Anju, Taipei, Kunpa, Kimazawa, like, starts listing off the houses, and you see others are, like, looking around the room, looking at their fellows. You see the faces of the lords and ladies grow red. You see Morgana's hand, as you're able to see, kind of, one hand is just kind of, like, gently placed along the front of her balcony, but her other is, like, death gripping behind the barricade. And you see, everyone looking at Morgana. You see Vosmir kind of turn his face that was kind of once looking very impartial and just kind of taking in the proceedings. You see kind of a little bit of ire begin to brew and kind of look up at Morgana and then come back down, and he lists off all the trade dealings and the ways the other houses are profiting. He's making a persuasion check with advantage now because of what you guys found. That is the same thing I rolled last time. That's great.
Oh, good.
Is it great? I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
It's great for him, but not us.
And you see, Morgana's face begins to grow a little redder, and you see at her side, her husband, who has not said anything, who is just kind of sitting and lounging, Lord Byron, and just kind of stands there and just kind of looks at her. Just kind of looks out among everyone else, and you hear people shouting, like accusations like, "You bitch! We trusted you!" And like, stuff like that, and you hear Vosmer just, "Silence! You may continue, Varen." Yes, sir. Eridor.
As this is happening, Eridor is going to try to. Well, first he's going to message Alakir.
Okay.
And he's going to say, I believe it would be best for me to get a closer position to Morgana. And I'm going to try, as they're talking and all the commotion is going on, everyone's like, "Rah!" I want to try to get somewhere closer
British Parliament
to Morgana. Yep.
This is an outrage!
No, sorry.
I have 50 movement speed. I don't know if I need to roll anything.
Stealth check. With disadvantage. Well, actually, I'll say it's a straight roll because of the commotion.
Okay.
How many
Here
people
we
have
go.
pieces of paper that they're like slamming up and down?
Okay. That's okay. That's a 16.
Okay, 16. Okay, so I'll say that you managed to. Having to move my mic to keep talking.
Here, I
as
can get it.
It's fine.
Oh.
So you slip around and kind of get closer, and as you kind of spill your way around and kind of work your way in the shadows, you kind of feel this sixth sense, and you kind of like turn, and you kind of just see Mordecai just like standing there in the shadows, just waiting, like, "Hey, how's it going? Fancy seeing you here." And you see, Varen. So much commotion in this air conditioning in this room.
I don't know what you're talking about. We're raining.
One quick question. I'm so sorry, Chris, but it matters for. How high up is her box?
Her box is about 15 feet higher than you.
Okay, I begin to prep spider climb,
Okay.
but I'm not gonna use it unless.
So, sorry, I'm placing some minis in there because I forgot to do this earlier. So they're, Hestel and Varen are down there. I forgot to actually bring Varen and Tobin's minis because I'm smart, so I'm just using a Gondorian soldier.
Heck yeah.
Very nice.
So he kind of continues and says, so just so we're clear, so he's laid out the research from the book, the illegal trade dealings and all of these things, and the fact that there is this somehow connection to Morgana and the beauties of the depths and something like that. And he says, and all of these things, well, I mean, there's one more thing, but I want you to keep in mind that, and he kind of looks at Morgana and says, all of us have done what we have needed to do to protect our families and to keep our houses from falling into ruin. But I think we can all understand that there are multiple things here, and one last which I am about to present, that coincide to a place where we cannot ignore it any longer. Finally, we have discovered these documents and the reality that House Hantari, for nigh on a generation, has been feeding and keeping a green dragon under their manor. And the whole room just like drops in silence. And Morgana turns her head and looks back at you, Adi. And
I'm as stiff as a board. You know when you're like trying to act natural, but in that you're like completely emotionless, just making it obvious that you're not acting natural.
Yeah. And you hear, in your mind, you watch as one of her eyes just goes, like arcane glyphs like flash in her eye, and she casts message, and you hear in your mind and say, "Don't worry. Nothing I've heard is a surprise. You'll hear the truth shortly. Do not worry. And thank you for coming to sit with me. Your presence has been very calming."
Okay.
And the room, you watch as some people like take in a deep breath, and you hear this resonating like there's literally a pulse of like force that comes out from the anvil as this ethereal hammer strikes it, and the sound, this is the same sound from before, just resonates and silences the chamber. And you watch as all the room grows silent. Vosmir looks very intent down at Varen and says, "Lord Varklu, if you would finish and present your course of action to the chamber." And Varen says, "Yes, with all these things in mind, it is clear. And I propose that Lady Morgana has of her own will and with specific intent taken this orb from the elemental plane of water and has used other houses to bolster her own abilities economically and politically." And he looks dead up at Vosmir and says, "And she used that power and political gain to bring your house, to bring your sons to death." And the room just goes silent. And Vosmir says, "By what proof?" And you watch as Hestel pulls forth the paper, and you watch as one of the secretors just kind of, you hear like the shoulders crack, and you hear, and as these steps kind of begin to come forward, you hear these heavy steps. Ka-tum, ka-tum, ka-tum. It doesn't sound mechanical. It literally feels like there is this larger-than-life suit of armor that is bound together through divine will.
So he's a space marine.
Yes, he is.
Oh, that's bad.
I said we were going to fight Space Marines.
For anyone that's wondering, these are specially painted Stormcast Eternal Sequitors as a scale to regular Dungeons & Dragons minis, so they are a little bit bigger. And you watch as this Sequitur puts the weapon aside and just kind of holds out his hand, and Varen puts the pamphlet, that decree, that bill you found, and Vosmir says, "I was under the impression that particular..." And he kind of, the Sequitur walks up and just kind of puts it in his lectern and goes and stands at attention, that proceeding was universal, and takes the pamphlet and looks down, and clearly, as you all know, can see that there was one, that somebody very specifically sponsored the bill, and it was not everyone being like, yes, this is something we need to do for a nation, but clearly one person being like, yeah, and then the names that are directly under Morgana's are the lords of House Anju, Taipei, Kimazawa, and Kumpa, the ones that are literally in her back pocket. Great job, guys, all of the pieces. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. So this is placed before him, and he just looks down on it and says, Thank you, Lord Vaklu. And Varen raises his hands and says, in conclusion, I think it is clear that Lady Morgana has used her power to gain an advantage over the rest of us, and to weaken those who might hold her in check. But that she has toyed with elemental power beyond even her own abilities, and that her actions have put our entire nation, our entire way of life, and our people in peril. And if this is the case, this is something that cannot go unchecked. Thank you. And he and Hestel step outside the zone of truth, and there is a chorus of shouts and commotion.
I think it is time we need to move, yes, no?
And you all kind of watch as Vosimir looks down at this paper and kind of looks up amongst the crowd and amongst the peoples, and his eyes just scan and scan and scan and look up at Morgana and then drop down a little to the left of Morgana. I want you to give me a deception check. Yes, you.
Uh-oh.
Actually, a stealth check. Stealth. No, you can keep that. That's fine.
It's a very mediocre roll.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Not deception.
Stealth. Fine, deception.
This is the political game that's
15.
exterior of the
Okay,
game.
you watch as his gaze kind of locks on you for a second. And he has this slightly quizzical expression as if he doesn't understand something. There's no recognition, just a little confusion. He kind of looks up at Morgana and says, Lady Morgana, it is now your time to take the stand. And she nods and says, Thank you, High Arbiter Vosimir. And I understand your suspicions. And trust me, I understand your fears. And I shall bring the truth to bear. And if I cannot convince you, if you hold me responsible, then I shall let your judgment pass. I will take the fall for this nation if I must, if it is what brings us together. And she kind of stands and walks and stops by you, Adi, and says, Shall we? And holds out her hand.
What are we doing?
We're going to speak. Come now. And she places a hand on your shoulder.
I'm fine here. I'm not really a person for big crowds and talking in front of them. I'm more of a personal.
I believe it's a wisdom saving throw, but I'm going to check.
Is it like command or?
I believe it's dominate person.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a wisdom check.
That is,
Drink nearby
it's
me.
a wisdom saving throw. Huh?
Is there like a glass of wine somewhere in this stand that I can like grab? And...
Out of fear? Or,
Oh, what are you about to
Getting
do?
loosened up.
I mean, not normally do they just leave, like, rosé around in a courtroom, but,
What kind of courtroom is this then?
It's not a British one.
Any sort of beverage will do.
What's that, wisdom save?
It's a nat 1. Woo!
Oh wow, this is lovely. This is great, you guys. I love this. I love us.
Just reminding myself of her DC. Okay.
Oh, yes. She has a 0. You pass!
Yes!
Any sort of beverage, any drink.
Yes.
But it's dumb.
Preferably one that might stain.
Okay, so you feel this incredibly strong arcane presence just break through.
I should have advantage on this roll because I'm obviously hostile towards her.
Go for it.
That's better. That's a 16.
That fails.
It was a try. It's better than a crit fail.
You're still unholy dominated.
So you try to shirk it off, but you feel just her raw arcane power just take control of your mind. And you just feel her kind of just say, "It's all right. I want you to come up and I want you to answer some questions."
I guess Ati just becomes very calm and looks up and says, "All right, that sounds like a good idea."
Did I find that drink?
Sure, you find a drink.
Okay, I'm gonna head out into the hall, and I would like to accidentally spill my drink on Ati.
Okay, so you. So are you gonna come?
Stumbling, and if it's alcoholic, acting drunk.
Okay, so the two of them come back through this area and begin to work their way forward to about here in the tunnel, they begin to work their way back out here to come through. So I'll say, at about here, you're kind of just there waiting, and they come down from it. Go ahead and just give me Are you trying to spill the drink on Adi?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
For the spell, I'm not sure it'll work, but... Okay, what sort of check is this? Is it, like, deception?
Make an attack roll without proficiency because it's an improvised weapon.
And you gotta get that feat to get the proficiency. Save me, please.
Does a 15 beat your AC, Ati?
Ah, yes, my AC of 13.
So you spill a drink on Ati.
On my new dress?
Oh, goodness, I'm sorry, little one.
And Lady Morgana says, "Excuse me," and just kind of...
I insist that I help clean you up real quick.
She just kind of looks at you, and just says, "I'm sorry." And you kind of just look as there are guards at the end of the hall, and just kind of says, "You have interrupted these proceedings, and we have important business to get to." And she just, yanks your arm to get you further into the tunnel.
Does she take a point of damage?
No. She's not, ripping her arm asunder. Are you gonna...
Pick up the cup and chuck it at my head?
Are you going to do anything else? As she turns and Adi, you're in your mind, you feel compelled to be let's go.
I'm gonna trip Ati. Trying to...
Make a...
basically flavoring an unarmed attack.
Sure, make an attack roll with disadvantage because you're trying to specifically trip. You're not just, punching.
Yep, that's what I figured. Oh, thank goodness. Am I proficient in my leg?
Are you proficient in your leg? Is that what you said?
Does my unarmed attack have proficiency on it?
Monks are the only ones that have.
Monks and I think specific races with like claws.
Well, it's still a 17.
Oh yeah, that beats the 13.
Okay, Morgana's gonna make a strength check. No. So you pull Audie and you kind of stumble and kind of sweep the leg, and Audie, you kind of slip out of Morgana's grasp and fall on the ground and take 1 point of damage.
Cracking my skull up against the ground.
X-rays.
Make another wisdom saving throw.
Do I get advantage on this one because I'm hostile, or no? Okay.
I was gonna say you're pretty docile right now.
No. In your mind now, Morgana is an ally, and you see Mordecai trying to trip you, and in your mind, yeah.
That's a dirty 20.
I'm so proud of you.
So you slip out of Morgana's grasp and slip and hit the stone floor, and your head rings.
Little one, I'm so sorry. Please, let me help you.
What the heck, Mordecai?
Here, come on, let me help clean you up real quick.
Do you know this one?
I think I need to go back up. I'm really confused. What's happening?
And at this moment, two of the guards have come up, and you, Mordecai, you feel kind of two, like, gadoom, gadoom. You feel like, I'm sorry, but you've thrown off the Emperor's groove. You feel that kind of like two guards usher up and grab your shoulders and say, you've interrupted enough of these proceedings, and kind of begin to pull you away out of the chamber and kind of push you back into the common. And Morgana says,
I think I need to go back up to the box. My head really hurts.
and Morgana looks at you and says,
Oh, gosh.
Ahti, I can save your soul if you speak the truth. Come,
Insight check.
do it.
It's 10.
She's telling the truth. She just holds out her hand and says, please, I know you're afraid. I know. She looks down and looks at you in the quiet of the hallway as the two guards proceed and are pulling Mordecai away, and there's no one there. And you hear a voice echo out from the other side of the room say, Lady Morgana, we are waiting. And she says, I know. We are coming. And looks down at you and says, I know you broke into my home. I know you've spoken to Tyrek. I know you don't trust me. And she looks at you.
If I go in with you, what am I doing?
She kneels down in front of you in the tunnel, shorter than you, and looks up at you and says, I want to save this nation. There are many people who think that I am the one who has done wrong. And there are things that I wish I could have changed. But I have not done this to destroy others. She looks at you and says, it was Tyrek who told me of the orb. He spoke of our city burning. Of a demonic fire that will soon crash upon our city. Of the servants of a dark demon prince. Of Orcus. And I need this power. I need this orb to keep our city from burning. Please, I must speak the truth. But I need you to answer my questions I know to be true. I know you have the answers too. Let me prove to you that I am better than what Vaklu thinks.
Insight check?
Do it.
Dude, if Morgana pulls up my heartstrings.
17.
She's telling the truth.
Oh, this is not good. No way.
So what do you need me to do?
We are going to go to the stand, and we will stand in the zone of truth. And I will ask you questions that you know the answers to. And you will speak the truth. It's that simple.
Can you promise protection for my friends?
No, but I can promise protection for you. But Severus and Paramus are close to them. No. You're pulled
how-
back out and you're up into the main chamber.
How long have they been in that tunnel?
40 seconds, and she's holding out her hand and taking steps towards the chamber.
If you can swear that my friends will not be harmed, maybe just exiled, but not harmed.
I will do whatever I can. Please.
I need your word.
I swear.
Insane
Do
shit.
it.
I mean, I rolled a 2 on the die, so I'm guessing with
I mean-
modifiers, I'm not gonna know.
I mean, she seems very emotionally vulnerable with you right now and in great. Like, she seems like she will do anything to be given a chance to give her side.
I put my hand in hers and I say, if you swear.
I swear. And she brings you out into the chamber, and she holds out her hand and kind of leads you into the zone of truth. And Lord Vosmir looks down at her and says, "Well, enough waiting. Lady Morgana, it's time to know the truth."